we've talked to many guests that are whole food plant-based that have, 2 kids to 7 kids. And we read that all 6 of your kids are plant-based.
That is right.
And that is like no parents can get all 6 of us. So that the parents out there are going to want to know how in the world you convinced or cajoled or bribed all 6 kids to go whole food plant-based. And what are their ages too? Because that'll help people.
Yeah. Well, right now the youngest is 4, the oldest is 16. At the time, we only had 4 kids. When we made the change. And honestly, what I tell parents is the way you got to think about it is your kids shouldn't be the ones who decide what they eat, because they would eat candy all day, right? That's why they would drink soda, eat candy and cookies, right? You have to decide for them. You have to tell them what's right for them. And, obviously, if you lead by example and you do the right things, then they'll follow. And you just cannot give into it. If you let your kid choose what to do, they play video games all day and they would just never go to school. It's like, no, we say you can't play video games all day. You have to go to school and do your homework, and obviously keep it positive and encouraging, but be a good example and teach them the right way. Now, obviously, kids have a hard time understanding the health aspects of it. And you never want to be too harsh on it and emphasize things too much. Everybody gets concerned about kids developing eating disorders and such if you go too crazy. But you just, again, lead by example, and they'll thank you for it later on. A lot of times what works for the kids is not emphasizing the health aspects, it's the environmental aspects or the ethical aspects, because it's a natural instinct for kids to say, I don't want to harm animals. So you can always play that route too, which helps them to avoid, the animal products. And getting the kids 100% whole food plant-based is a challenge. As long as you can do that 90% of the time, they're going to be in way better shape than almost any other kid. And if the occasional processed plant-based food comes in there, as long as it's, not often and not a daily staple, they're still going to be way, way healthier than almost every other kid that doesn't follow a plant-based diet. Because honestly, the diet of American kids is horrific. A lot of processed foods, high fat animal foods, high sugar. And any step you could take away from that is definitely a step in a positive direction.
Yeah. Don't ask Johnny what he wants to eat it when he's 2. Like, it's not a question.
Yes, right. You got it.
How does your teenager do with his or her friends? Because peer pressure is pretty strong when you're a teenager, but there's also a lot of feeling of rebellion, and being plant-based is kind of rebellious.
It is a little bit, yeah.
And also, young people care about how they look and their bodies changing and things like that. So what does your teenager get pressure?
Well, so far they haven't had, as far as they told me, my 2 teenagers have not had any problems at all with friends. They actually have all been very, very open and happy all about it. So my daughter's a cross-country runner. She's on the varsity team. There's 2 other vegan runners on their team out of 7 in the varsity. So she's not alone there. And I think there's one vegetarian as well. And one of the coaches is vegan and does all these ultra runs and such. So she hasn't had a hard time at all. And actually it's been very much embraced by her friends. And my son, he's got a lot of friends, and he goes over and he sleeps over at people's house. They are always really, really accommodating. Now that's when some people have a hard time and they're like, I don't know what to feed him. And then there comes the Beyond Burgers and the more processed foods and such. But, if it's that rare occasion again, it's better than eating, animal based for sure.